Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Season 2, episode 12 on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, wherever you are. Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet's YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now.
We're everywhere.
Podcasts, iTunes and Spotify. We are glad you are aboard for the next 2 hours. I am gone 5 minutes yesterday. 5 minutes and all hell has broken loose in Leaf Nation. What the hell is going on? It's 2-2.
I know. 2
wins, 2 losses, just 4 games played. But a lot happened in the last 24 hours, and it's still kind of trickling here, JB. Justin Bourne, Derek Brandale, Jen Rolnick, Sammy McKee, our trusted producer, talking Leafs. All right, in a nutshell, can you just, again, I missed yesterday's show.
Yeah.
I'm back today.
Yeah.
Can you assess for me what has really happened between Monday and going into tonight's game against Dallas?
So the coach was a meanie to the elite players. The elite players either didn't know what happened at all or didn't care. The coach told them that he was a meanie or either apologized or walked back being a meanie, and the players are like, okay, whatever. And then everyone came out and talked about it, and us in the media, our show included, which you weren't here for, went,
That's a show.
Coach has lost control of everything. And I think everyone's just fine.
4 games in.
Correct.
Sammy, our trusted Leaf Nation president of the Booster Club.
Correspondent.
Yeah. Okay. Is there something here, or is this totally been blown out of proportion?
I think, if nothing else, it shows the way people are feeling about this core after, it's not 4 games. Everyone's like, oh, it's 4 games. It's not 4 games.
It's 4 years and 4 games.
You've got to have the pretty big blinders on to be like, oh, it's just 4 games. It's 6 years of this. It's 7. I guess not 6. I guess when did it kind of turn? After the second loss to the Bruins in the first round? Is that the time it turned?
Yeah, that's fair. But Sammy is sneaky, by the way, the most likely guy to swear on the show lately.
I was
You're always
really feeling the one there. I really wanted to swear that. It's not 4 games. And I think there's just a tension around the fans and this team after years and years of the same result. And I think everyone involved is feeling it. I really do.
Okay. We're going to revisit Sheldon Keefe. Of course, we're going to get to some Kyper's Clippers or Kyper's Clips, or I don't know what the hell you want to call it anymore. But we will get to Keefe because he did say something to address, again, the follow-up.
Right.
Off the follow-up, I think, of the third follow-up.
He's addressing the aftermath of the aftermath.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
City. Can we just, for 1 second, revisit post comments against Arizona? What he said wasn't the worst thing, was it?
No.
The only thing we had discussed on the following day, Tuesday, is would you have drawn that card after just 4 games? We weren't it wasn't a huge thing to focus or call out your elite players.
Right.
It wasn't the worst. I think I mentioned it as almost a playbook out of Mike Babcock's.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of these guys have like 1, 2 even strength points. You expect more from them. Their opponents haven't been very good.
Do we want a refresher on what he said? We have the clip. How about a little refresher?
All right, let's refresh.
That's fun.
The difference between us and Arizona is that we have elite players. And our elite players didn't play like elite players today. Couldn't make a difference. So
didn't play like elite players. I've got no issues with that.
I actually, if you heard some other coach say that about his team, you'd be like, good for him. Daryl Sutter holding his boys accountable.
Daryl Sutter says that. That's the most complimentary thing he's ever said in his life.
Right.
How do we go from an almost throwaway comment to Sheldon Keefe needing to come back and refresh this story.
I would love to know that. I don't know.
I almost have to apologize. It wasn't really an apology, but what it was an admission.
Softening.
It was an admission of being wrong. That's what it was.
Okay.
And the wrong is his choice of words. That's
Sure.
well, how do you see it?
Well, no, I don't think your assessment of it's wrong, but I don't think he used the wrong words.
No, but he said he chose the wrong words.
I know he did.
Okay.
So why is he saying that is
Why?
what we're doing here?
Why does Sheldon Keefe need to publicly do that on a Wednesday?
So I said on the show on Tuesday, that's the one thing I will take credit for here. I did say Sheldon is going to have to address that comment with those players. I called that because it's a public calling out.
Which happened.
Sure, yes.
Right?
Yes.
It happened.
Yeah.
Here's my question to two of you guys today. Why did we need to know that
happened at all?
That it happened at all? Why can't that be done behind the scenes? Why did it need to come back out? And I think it was Mitch Marner who publicly said that I don't know if we have the quote, that he basically alluded to that we met behind closed doors. That's why closed doors are for. We'll leave it at that. It was addressed. And then what that did in itself was stir up all the vultures out there who needed to kind of feed off of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got people going, oh, okay. So this is the way it works right now, right? The inmates get to run the asylum.
Make the coach go out and prostrate himself in front of the masses. And
that's what happened yesterday.
Well, it's the perception of what happened, certainly.
For sure. Where's our buddy JD? Did he not?
He sent a few tweets that got people all fired up.
It got people fired up. And what was it? About how this is a bad culture?
It just comes off looking soft that a coach should have to come out like, do you think Dubas said to him, you need to go out there and address those comments from yesterday? Or because I think it kicked up a mild sandstorm when he said.
I don't really believe that Kyle Dubas threw him out there and said, you need to go and,
agree.
You need to
no
fix
way he
this.
said that.
Not publicly.
I'm not saying no way, but it's unlikely.
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know.
Well, here's why it happened. If we're getting to the nuts and bolts of this, it's because Rosie DiMano went down there and asked them all face to face about it. And listen, I respect that kind of journal. Like tough questions have to be asked. It's a hard market. That's what happens with sports media. It's sports. It's a kid's game. There's people reporting on way worse stuff all the time. And she went down there and asked them all to their face, do you think it was too harsh a criticism, this, that? And they got those answers, and it turned into a 24-hour news cycle. They did their job. So it's the reporter going down there and asking them face to face. There's a chance this never comes out. There's a chance this never happens without somebody going down there and directly asking them. If you want to get to the nuts and bolts of it, that's why we're here.
Should have had her on the show.
I honestly believe that at that point, there should have been a discussion about it, and they all should have collectively come together and have some sort of canned answer that would have never stirred the pot up.
But I do agree a little bit with, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of where you want us to get to, but with Keefe's comments today, that so much of this is what you're talking about is managing the media.
He's still talking.
He's still talking about it.
See, unfortunately now, as we listen to Sheldon Keefe's answer on how this thing snowballed, because that's where we are today. We need, again, going into Dallas tonight, the comments were Monday night, yet the focus is now on, okay, how did this snowball? How did it get so big?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Sheldon Keefe, again, is adding to the story with his comments on why we ended up here.
Okay.
Let's have a listen.
Probably more a reflection of coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs and dealing with you all. than anything, just to make sure that the way that I'm communicating is more clear, because the reaction to the comments was not what I was trying to communicate. So it's more so about managing the media than it is about managing the players.
All right, when in doubt, blame the media.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Again, though, I don't think it's any one person. There's just a lot of people. I don't know. So I get, though, what he's saying is that there is a managing. He's trying to, after game, give fair answers, gives a fair answer, and then he's stuck doing all this. Like, do they have PR people for this? Should Sheldon still be talking about it?
See,
Talks a lot, boys.
I
And
really
we can't bite the hand that
believe-
feeds us. but
I
know.
really believe that this is a self-inflicted wound. And I got to point the finger at Sheldon Keefe. 100%. Coming off his comments on Monday, I think he only had two choices. One is to completely ignore it and say, we've moved on.
Mhm.
Two is double down.
Said what I said.
Okay.
Next question.
Double and triple down.
That's what he should have done, for sure.
couldn't agree more.
Okay. And turn
They weren't very
around
good. Were you
and
watching?
say,
Next question.
who's got a problem in that room right now with what I said Monday? If you need to come into my room and address it, I'm here. But you can say all you want. We've played 4 games and we've lost 2 to the worst teams in the National Hockey League.
31
Team
and
number
32 last year.
31 and team number 32.
Yeah. For a team with cup aspirations.
Okay, we lost to Arizona at home. You stunk. And
Yeah.
I'll tell it again. And that's it.
If you don't think I can call you out now, when can you be called out?
At the end, we lost to Arizona.
Yeah.
How can you sit here in my office and say that?
Well, actually, we had a goal. You know, our line controlled play
Just
a lot.
Stay with it.
Yeah.
And stay with it in the media, or just say, we dealt with it, it's over, and move on. But to go back and use the word wrong, I was wrong in the words. And look, and here's the worst part about it, okay, is what you've done now, what backpedaling on your comments Monday has done is that you've now created an environment where you've actually over-empowered your star players to look like they're spoiled, rotten guys who are pampered, or prima donnas who can go in there and make you look like you need to apologize. And that's the worst thing that could happen to a Mitch Marner. It's the worst thing that could happen. What probably would have been best is that he says what he said, and then Matthews, Marner, Riley, Tavares, and Nylander just
Back 'em up.
eat it.
Yeah, we
just
need to be
say,
better.
listen, he's right. We lost to Arizona. We've lost to Montreal. We need to be better. And we are difference makers. We weren't. We're going to be better. End of story.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it looks like, hey, they're maturing. They're growing up. They're
Owned it,
they're owning
accountability.
it. They're owning it. But all Sheldon did by backpedaling is make a guy like Mitch Marner look like he's running the show.
Ding, ding, ding. I think you've hit it on the head. I think
Thanks for
now the confetti
tuning
comes
in,
down,
everybody.
the music plays, and
And
we
that's the
exit.
show. But no,
That's
but like,
bang on. There's not one thing there I was like, disagree.
Is it that hard?
No, and now that you've said all that, it makes you feel dumb thinking it was nothing. Because it's not nothing. Because I went back and forth thinking it was something, and it was something. We talked about it yesterday with Gunner.
But here's the thing. It is nothing, but it's a reflection of something. The moment is nothing. What he did, not a big
Listen,
deal in a micro.
You are the general on the bench. You are it. Game 4, you can't be saying I'm wrong. I don't. It's really hard for a coach at any point to go up to his players and say I was wrong. But once you open that gate open, it might be a little hard to get it back on the rails. I'm telling you. And I've played with a lot of coaches. I can only recall one saying he was wrong, and that it was the most unlikeliest guy on the face of the planet.
Is it Keenan?
Keenan. But it was in the Eastern Conference Final when it was really falling off the rails. But you had a guy like Mark work with Keenan, and it worked. It worked, and we were fine with that. But that's the only time I think in all my 12 years of professional hockey, I listened to a coach saying I was wrong. And certainly if they did, you'd never do it publicly. You'd never go back and do that in front of the world to see.
Right.
You just maybe keep it behind closed doors. I was with Brad May yesterday, and he told an amazing story when he was with the Vancouver Canucks, where I don't know if you guys remember, but it was going through this period of time where Pavelski was out of the lineup, and he wanted to trade in. He wanted to trade right away. I think Berkey was at the time. Couldn't get a deal he wanted. He was miserable. The team was miserable. And halfway through a game against the Leafs, he pulls the goalie. And I think they were down 3-0 or 4-1. He pulled the goalie in the middle of the game.
Second period, yeah.
And, they lost the game that day. And then the next day they have a closed-door meeting. And some of the veterans now going to Keenan and saying,
what the hell are we doing here?
You were wrong for doing that. Yeah. And Keenan turned it right around, and he – last guy you would think about, analytics, but he had like a well thought out answer to say, what the percentages of us coming back in that game at that moment.
If we don't score,
right?
Yeah, then.
And it's like, I tried something, and I don't have to apologize for trying something different. And he just turned around and he went right back in the face and he said, I'd do it again tomorrow. Because you guys weren't responding. You weren't ready. You weren't this. You weren't that. Here's the percentages of us coming back. Here are the numbers. Here's the data. And then, Mayday tells me, you know what? We were wrong for thinking he was wrong. He was right. He was right to try something new. He was right to give us a different feel, a different look. Did it work? No. But he wasn't wrong. And I think that to spin this back to Sheldon, he wasn't necessarily wrong. Did we like the timing of it? Is that a card that you can go to two or three times a year that early? No. Was he wrong for doing it? No.
Yeah.
So just go back to them and just remind them, and that's it. That's it. Like,
it feels like a different era of coaching in that a lot of these players, and this is well established, we've talked about players now are more sensitive and they want to know why things are happening. They want to be included in the process and they want to whatever. But it is funny seeing the more successful coaches still seem to be the guys who are clearly in charge, where there's not some sort of, group run by the players. And yesterday I mentioned when Jeremy Colleton tried to take over the Blackhawks after Q's gone and it's Taves and Kane's team. It's impossible. Keefe comes in when it's clearly Matthews and Marner and, their team. It's a hard position when it feels like the players have more authority than the coach does.
I mean, how many times do you hear guys say, "Oh, like my least favorite guy in the world was Scotty Bowman," but then we won the cup, right?
Right.
Like you're not supposed to love.
Al Arbor was not a popular coach.
Are you supposed
with
to
the New York
be?
Islander
Are you
players.
supposed to be best buds with your coach?
So I'm with a few of the
that's the assistant
alumni.
coach's job is to be the buddies.
Right.
I was with a few of my NHL alumni guys yesterday, and we were all talking about when a coach is going off on us, and he's either singled out people, even publicly sometimes, or behind the scenes, and you don't even the next day want to make eye contact with him. You are like your head's down,
You
and
need
you're
the next
like,
game to start.
"Oh God, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me." And God, let me get out of here before someone tells me I got to go into his office. And you pray, just pray that you get to puck drop and you're in the lineup,
Yeah, put me in.
that you can get him to think about something new.
Yeah. Make a play. And then you do, though. That's your
just-
motivation to have legs
And
that
all
night.
they needed to do as a group is just get to Dallas, get to the puck drop and play a good game. And then that Monday's it's lost. It's just absolutely lost. But unfortunately now, I mean, admitting you're wrong doesn't disappear anytime soon.
No.
It doesn't.
No, it's you only get so many strikes, and that's probably one. It's probably one that gets remembered. Should we listen to him talk about using his bullets this early? Is that a fair time for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, we had talked before the season began about the importance, you know, of being really consistent and having our game as often as we can look like ourselves. And you know, right from game one, that wasn't the case. You know, even though you have a lot of good things that happen in preseason and you had a lot of confidence going in, you get out there and it doesn't look that way. And you know, for a team that's been together as long as ours has, you know, we have new players and stuff like that. But obviously, the identity of our team and the core of our team has remained the same. So there's an expectation that you would start at a really high level, and you don't. So I think that was disappointing. And you know, the Washington and Ottawa games, I think are good games for us, and we feel good about those games. And then, you know, the Arizona game's a funny game, but we've been talking about not leaving those points on the table. And it just so happens the schedule we get, you know, two opponents there that were type of teams that we struggled with last season, and the expectations we'd improve there, and we didn't. So I think it's more just a symptom of that than anything. I don't know if I had necessarily a game plan to how I was going to approach the early going here, other than to say that there's a high expectation that our group would continue to grow and having a good start to the season, particularly in those types of games, we would be better. And
You know,
I didn't hear too much there.
no,
Did you?
for me, it's that they wanted to set the standard of consistency and all that heading into the season and try to look like us more often, which means before 82 games, they recognized one of their issues is that they have games where they just don't. You know, unlike a lot of the great teams, they consistently fail to show up against bad teams.
Well, just to go back on the elite players and not necessarily, you know, just to follow up on Sheldon's original comment here. Okay, Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and then we'll throw in Riley too. Those are the players that he speaks of.
Yeah,
but for me, it's head and shoulders above the guy that has not shown up or at least looked as close to anything that we're accustomed to seeing is Austin Matthews.
For sure.
That's it. He sits at the very top in this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't expect Sheldon to call him out. I think it was actually a good move to, you know,
blanket it a bit.
Yeah, blanket it a bit. And,
It's
you
a
know,
bunch of guys.
But
Marner's been
Marner's
okay.
looked like Marner.
Yeah.
He has.
Yeah.
Nylander, to me, is fine.
Yeah,
Tavares is off to a good start.
for sure.
Looks fresher, better. The legs seem to be better than they were at large stretches of last season.
Yeah, he's looked good.
Morgan's been on for a few goals. But outside of that, aren't we really talking about just Austin not looking like Austin?
Mm-hmm. I think we are. And we actually have him on cleaning things up from yesterday if we want to listen to that clip.
Sure.
I mean, I think, you know, obviously a little bit disappointing. You know, I thought we had the puck lots. I think just trying to work through that, you know, discipline of, you know, when you have the puck lots, just trying to generate better scoring opportunities and kind of challenge the inside a little bit more. So, you know, I thought we obviously, you know, put ourselves in a position to fight back and make it a game. And, you know, tough call at the end, overturning the goal, but you know, obviously some stuff that we'd like to clean up. I mean, we're 4 games in. Obviously, nothing's going to be perfect. I think you're still working through some stuff that you know, I think most teams have to work through in different areas of our game. So we're just trying to kind of map that all out and continue to progress and go in the right direction. But obviously, you know, you want to make good on those games for sure.
Not a bad even keel approach. Like, come on, who's really worried about this guy?
No one.
Long
Not worried.
term.
Not worried that this season he's not going to score 50 or whatever.
But he is a big reason why it's looked the way it's looked.
You know what
for 4 games.
You know what I don't like in that answer from Austin is the acceptance of, obviously things aren't perfect already or whatever. So I spent 2 years working for Sheldon Keefe, and one of the things that I did was I had to do the pre-scout for the opposition. Here's what they do. Here's how we're going to answer it. Little system sheet, and I would show it to him and say, "Is that good to post?" Yeah. And he would go through it, and he'd X out a comma and be like, do it again and reprint it. Like, all right, I got to go back over here. I got to take it for a comma. Like, he was a perfectionist about this stuff, and he would say, if what we're going to present of ourselves to the team has to be perfect because we expect that from them when they play. That's how I learned how he wanted to operate. And I thought that was amazing. And I changed the way that I thought about being a perfectionist about things so that the players would. I don't like hearing a guy who's the most important player on your team go, we obviously haven't been perfect. We'll try to clean some things up.
Yeah.
Hold yourself to a higher standard.
I think, I don't think it's necessarily just the words that he said, but just
he's not making a big deal.
Just trying to calm things down.
Sure.
That's what I got out of it.
Okay.
And, unfortunately, I think you're right. If he would have turned around and said, I'm with Sheldon, I haven't been very good, and I got to get better looks. I got to fight harder for what if there would have been more of that, we wouldn't be having the first 15, 20 minute conversation on it. We wouldn't have.
No, you're right.
But so a good game against Dallas will put a lot of things behind this organization, but another look like we've seen in the first 4 games, and then at some point, one of those players may have to say something that certainly can help a guy like Sheldon out here.
Could you be any more confident? Maybe this is
what
just
if they
me.
lay an egg tonight? Then what do you do? Then you don't.
I'm so confident they're not going to tonight because of the history of this team. Oh, it looks like a tough game against a good team.
You know what whack has happened?
Just got your wrist slapped.
Yes.
This is the type of game they play well. Dallas has given up 3 goals in 3 games. Go ahead and bet the Leafs tonight.
Wow, they got the backup.
Go ahead and bet Austin Matthews to score tonight.
So here we go. Scott Wedgwood is in goal tonight. They won't see their star goaltender in Jake Ottinger. And Sammy's just said it right now that come on, can't beat your backup goalie. There's the narrative already.
Well, maybe that's the way to beat the Leafs is to present yourself as vulnerable as possible. Show them your soft underbelly, and then they'll just refuse to show up.
It's scary how true that is.
Don't make it seem like it's going to be tough, or you might get them up for the game.
Well, in about 15 minutes, we're going to get Mike Fuda is going to join us, former NHL executive. He's going to come in and
he's got takes.
And we
love it.
He's got a lot of takes. Marty Turco in the next hour, of course, one of the great Dallas Stars goaltender. We'll get his thoughts on Dallas and how they present themselves tonight. You mentioned the 3-0 start. See, I see this as a big challenge. I don't even think about the goaltending right now outside of Toronto seeing a team that's very confident, a team where a lot of guys had great success a few years ago in the bubble Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
So they got some star players there still. I think this is going to be a real tough one here. And one where, again, this is they could play big and heavy.
Yeah.
Which to me is a concern.
And they've won 4-1, 5-1, 4-1 this year. Like, they're not squeaking out victories. They are firing on all cylinders.
And the Leafs have 2
against Nashville and Winnipeg.
And the Leafs have 2 D pairs where I'm not sure if the guys have ever been in the same room together.
Ooh, Victor Mete.
Victor Mete and Giordano and Hall and
Listen,
Sandin.
I want to get into that discussion because yesterday I wrote an article for the Toronto Star suggesting that maybe it's a good time for the blue line to get a different look. I want to get into that a little later, but let's tee up the Robertson matchup tonight, boys.
Yeah, which Sam just absolutely dragged Nick Robertson in our thing here, not on purpose.
No, it's just not good.
But listing his stats beside his brother's stats is not fair at all. Jason,
yeah.
2 years older with an extra 120 games and 58 goals and 70 points. Or sorry, an extra 128 points.
It's not where you start, it's how you finish.
That's right.
So, Nick Robertson in the lineup. He's been a guy that has done everything that has been asked. He prepared well for the beginning of the season. He needed to get bigger and stronger. He spoke of that before training camp. Unfortunately for him, the numbers didn't work out at training camp, went down with a good attitude, but got a great opportunity tonight.
I think everyone's ready for Nick Robertson to be a full-time Toronto Maple Leaf, a difference maker. Not expecting him to come out and score, 30 goals this year, but if he could score 20 goals if he plays 78 games this year and plays in the middle six, I'm hopeful for him. I think it's his time to come around. Why don't we listen to Sheldon Keefe tell us about Nick Robertson?
I mean, you talk about being an important game today. Every day has been important for him since he's been here, since the start of camp, and I think he's handled that extremely well. He even the fact that he gets sent down to the Marlies, that's a tough pill to swallow, understandably, but he did that, went down and played well, and now here he is. He's back. So just the way he's handled all of that, but then also, within his game, we think we've seen the growth and maturity in his game and sort of a recognition that he doesn't have to take on everything every shift and feel like every shot has to go in the net. I mean, there's an understanding of the process and the patience that has to come with just being consistent and going out shift after shift and doing what the game calls for and what the system calls for. And we've really seen him take really big steps in that regard from the start of camp.
And it's really about still looking noticeable, still looking dangerous when you don't have the puck.
Yeah, there's so much there about we want him to play when he's not shooting it in the net. We want him to play.
That's right.
Play the team system, be where you're supposed to be. You're going to get looks and not get ahead of the play and force it and think about goals. But with this, you can't ask that of him and then take him out of the lineup in 2 or 3 games if he hasn't scored. You can't claim that those things don't matter if he's doing those other things well and it's just not going in.
Here's the problem with that, JB, is if you're not accumulating points in the process, then it becomes about the team and not Nick Robertson's development. That's the unfortunate part for Sheldon and this whole organization is that, if you want to continue to have people believe that you are a top contending team, that you could challenge for the Atlantic, that you could be a top 3 team overall, you can't lull those 3 games away and still keep Nick Robertson in the lineup necessarily if he's not contributing or if the team's still struggling. That's the you got to win, and you got to buy Nick time with wins if you want to go down the route that you're speaking of.
I just think
what's his competition? Malgin?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, what's he
I know.
skated with the puck a few times.
I know.
I think Nick Robertson's going to get every opportunity and
I think he's
patience
done with the
here.
American League. I don't think he goes down again.
If he can still be in a position where, again, what Sheldon's talking about, not scoring and still looking like a dangerous guy.
Yeah, he's getting chances. He's got shots.
Then because that's Malgin.
Well, Malgin
Right.
has 3 straight games without a shot on net. Like Robertson's bar to clear to stay ahead of Malgin is not that high. He played 3 bottom-feeding teams after shooting 1 in the net, and
one that anyone talking here could have shot in the net,
including Nick Robertson, who's not here, but probably could have pulled that off.
Yeah.
So
Malgin's out
Malgin's out
tonight, which really is a shame because I didn't see this. I didn't see this.
Don't even go there.
I didn't see this versus Robertson versus Robertson. I saw it Malgin versus Marchment. That's the matchup I wanted to see tonight.
Oh, my God.
No?
Only you would think of that, Kev.
No?
No.
Oh, come on.
I don't think that's a matchup Malgin wants.
See him have a scrap or what?
Oh, my.
Marchie fights a little.
No. Come on, you guys. What are you, Neanderthals? I'm talking skill on skill here.
Malgin would have sent. I'm sorry.
Let
Marchment
me
would have
just
sent-
Google Marchment. Oh, he's in the top 20 in league scoring, 5 points in 3 games.
Yeah. It's a moot point. He
Mason
wouldn't have been here.
Marchment was the star coming out of training camp for the Dallas Stars. He was their best player. Yeah.
You know what, though?
But guess what?
Part of the reason they trade him, they don't think
Doesn't
he can
matter.
play a hockey season.
I'm sorry, but this is turning into an unbelievable story.
For sure. But it's not a Leaf story anymore. Because he wouldn't have been here anyway.
This is a hockey story.
Yes.
This is much
Oh, and
bigger
it's
than
a Leaf story, too.
Well, it starts off as a Leaf story.
If they knew he was going to be this good, you find a way to keep him.
Like, what's he got? 3 goals and 5 points in 3 games?
And one of them, he looked like Mario Lemieux.
No. You're joking.
6'4".
You're joking around. But I saw a goal in Nashville. I don't know, it was his first or second game.
Yeah, that's the one.
Where he picks up the puck in his own zone. And I'm like, get the red line and dump it in.
Oh, and he pulls it across to get inside?
That guy sees one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League, in Roman Josi. And he says, I'm going one-on-one against Josi.
You'd have hated that if he turned it over. But he didn't, so it's fine.
He undresses one of the best defensemen in the league.
I gave that watching a stank face up.
No.
And goes in and
Do
splits
you
the
know-
puck in 2 on the bar and it goes in.
Do you know how fearless you have to be to think that you want to just attempt it, let alone pull it off? Like,
You know, we talked about, how am I going to phrase this? Marchie just does. This guy. Like, he just reacts, he goes, he doesn't think too much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the thing you talk about
What are you
fearless.
getting at here?
he just does, and he's very talented.
and no word of a lie, like people are saying he has got more skill than you even thought.
I'm telling you, Kipper, they had this guy. It makes no sense because Dubas is so loyal to his guys. They take an undrafted player, they bring him into the org. They don't put him on the Marlies or the ECHL team. They just keep him around and work with them.
This goal is so disgusting.
They
It's-
develop
I just
him for
watched it.
years.
It's so nice.
It is filthy.
Yeah, that's when he picks up the puck in the neutral zone here, not to do a breakdown where Noah can see it, but the thought to cut it into the inside, like Yossi wasn't expecting it from him, but his second gear of pushing off, he goes fast and
He's
then
long
shoots
and
it off
lanky.
the post and in ferociously.
Anyway,
It's a gross goal. But like I said, they wouldn't
the
have
one
been
that
able to.
got away. He
they
would
would-
look okay in Bunting's spot.
For sure. Oh, you think? But they wouldn't have been able to afford him. It's not a Leaf story anymore. He would have
'cause,
left.
Yeah, Kerfoot would be playing somewhere else, and so would Justin
Nah.
Hall. And they'd have
No,
Marchie.
no.
He would have left.
Listen,
He would have been gone.
No,
Hyman left.
no.
They all leave. That's all they do is leave. Connor Brown
Sammy.
gone. They all go. There's only four. There's only
How many
four.
times have you been dumped in your life?
There's only four.
my
There's four
God.
constants, boys. There's 4 constants with this team. I guess 5 with Morgan Riley. But like, there's only, everything else doesn't matter. It's just interchangeable.
He's
I don't-
giving up, man.
I don't
He's
know.
giving up.
Should I pile on Sammy right now, or did you guys already talk about Labushkin getting away?
Oh, sorry. I'm just watching that goal again. Holy
yeah.
hell.
Sorry, so we talked a little bit about it. Oh, this is the audio of Louis DeBrusque watching it.
Boys, that was like
Oh my God.
That was like,
could
oh.
be the best hit I've seen in like 20 years.
He eviscerated him.
That's one, like, Holloway was moving forward at a good speed, and within a moment, his body was going the other direction. It was like getting hit by that bullet train that you and I watched the video of.
Wow.
But anyway, Labushkin is
Wow.
he'd be useful.
We had a good conversation about that yesterday, talking about how guys just don't expect to get hit like that anymore.
We think that's a part of it. Do you think that's accurate, that players just don't anticipate
Holloway's-
anyone
Go
hitting?
watch Holloway's path.
Oh, it's horrible.
That was, what do we call those? Suicide passes.
Right, you just don't pick up that pass. You just say, this
Right?
is not in the spot I
That
want this.
that is not the path. You don't want to be facing north and looking south for the puck.
particularly when it's coming.
That's the vintage
Okay.
get lit up spot
Yeah.
where he was. Like a step.
Was once upon a time.
Yeah, a step over the blue line, not looking, is where it happens
That's-
a lot. Think of Cronwall. You think of guys
it
getting
just
it there.
doesn't happen very often because so much has to be absolutely perfect.
Guys don't look for that hit anymore because guys don't want to get
Well,
wildly out of
you-
position. If you go for that
listen,
hit and Holloway doesn't get the pass, you're screwed.
As someone that has been on the ice with a few of those guys over
Oh, I'm sure.
my career, this is what it really does. Okay, like there's a part of you that understands that you're on a team. There's a system to play. You know, you'd like to score a goal. Or you'd like to look good. But there's also the part of you when you're on the ice is who's out here and who could potentially rip my head off. That's how you play.
Yes.
When you're on the fourth line in my generation.
Okay.
So what happens from here moving forward? For a very long time now, Lyubushkin has gone to that next level where guys now will watch that. And moving forward, there's always going to be a part of you that goes, when you play against Buffalo, that guy can do to me what he did to Holloway. And there'll always be a part of you now that has to think that way. That's what a hit like that does for Lyubushkin, and that's
for
what,
his team.
That's what it does for his team, and that's what Trouba's been able to do for the Rangers. And it's taken Lyubushkin to a complete another level that he has that. It's like having the club in your bag that you can go to.
So I've been dying to make the point you just made because I had analytics people tell me, well, you know, he only played 13 minutes and his defending entries is this and he's that and whatever. No. I played enough hockey to know that you don't always know who you're on the ice against. But when the other team has someone who plays like that, no matter who's on the ice, I'm hesitant.
It changes
Because he might be.
Hesitant is the perfect word.
It is. It's just that little bit of like, if it's him, I'm screwed.
It changes.
It makes you
But
pump
you know
for
what?
half a second.
You can't tell them. They don't understand
Because that helps
that's-
all the defensemen on your team because everyone isn't sure. I never knew who was out against unless it was one of a few guys.
But you can tell certain analytic people that never played the game before that, and they don't get
So, well,
it.
his numbers. Well, what's he doing for everyone else's numbers? Making his opponents scared.
What do you think felt better, Marchment's goal or Lyubushkin's hit?
Lyubushkin's hit.
10
Maybe because
times
I've
out of
never
10.
done it. That just looked like an unbelievably satisfying. 37-4. Okay, we got to go to break.
Yeah,
Would you have signed Lyubushkin for 2.5 to keep him?
definitely.
Oh my God, all day long, all day
No
long.
question.
Our show,
All
Team
right, we've
Lyubushkin.
blown through the third base stop sign. Mike Fuda after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center, I'm Carrie Prunskis. Southbound on the 427 south of Burnhamthorpe in the Collectors, the left lane is blocked with a collision, so there's a heavy backup southbound 427 from Rathburn to south of Burnhamthorpe in the Collectors. And traffic spotters are reporting a collision on the westbound Gardner just west of York. It's blocking the right lane. Already a pretty slow drive on the westbound Gardner, jammed from the DVP to west of Strawn. Unibet's hundreds of casino games are coming to Canada. Download Unibet and start playing slots, table games, and live dealer casino today. Must be 19 or older and physically located within Ontario. Play responsibly.
Wheel, Kyper, and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. Hey, one thing I do want to say, and listen, I mean, the beauty of our show, JB, for me anyways, is the fact that, we don't come on till 3 p.m. Eastern. A lot of people, morning shows, noon, they get to say stuff. We get to still think about what we want to say.
Right.
And we got all the time in the world to kind of form opinions and then take a stance and come out here for the, what isn't lost on me as I sit here, we sit here and critique Sheldon Keefe. What isn't lost on me is how we get to really think about what we have to say and how we want to say it. And those guys, after an emotional game, get on a podium right away and have to be perfect and have to make sure that their words aren't taken out of context or with the under. And it's just really hard. It's hard, and I get it. Some days you choose the wrong words, and
and sometimes they're not the wrong words, but you shouldn't have said them or whatever. You know, it's.
So I just wanted to make sure that
we get it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's absolutely hard. Maybe that's why a guy like Mike Fuda has always been an NHL executive that throws people out there to the podium and says, "You do it. I don't want to get myself in any hot water." Let's welcome in Mike Fuda.
Come on, Kyper. I've never, ever avoided a podium. What side do you, so I know what side do you fall on it? If you said that, like Sheldon rolling it back, you guys are fine with that?
Oh, we went hard at it. I don't know if you caught the early part of our show, but I basically said that Sheldon should either have ignored questions on it and say that we've moved on, or he needed to double down or triple down on it.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
What are your thoughts on this? And I ask you, and I take you back to your LA days and Daryl Sutter, and whether or not he would have, uttered the words. I used the wrong words.
No, Daryl. Okay, I don't even have to hold on that one. Daryl controls every press conference he's in. You don't even have to have questions on the other end. He's going to answer the question he wants out of his mind, and that's what comes with experience. And Daryl being Daryl is never. Although he doesn't like press conferences, so he says he's the master of them and he controls the narrative. So, that being said, I mean, on the other night, and I get it, and I know there's so many different things you control. Kyper and I had the pleasure of being on with Bourne and David Amber the other night to discuss this. But it's not for me. It's not a panic. It's not I've sat in those chairs, so it's not something you want to throw stones, but it's really hard to see, and I'm not like an anti-Leaf guy. I mean, I've got Giordano, Muzzin, Spezza, Tavares. These are all guys that coach. I want to see them win. I want to see them hoist Stanley Cup, but it's frustrating. And I do think Matthews is the best player in the National Hockey League all around. I mean, I think he's going to score 50 in his sleep. This is not what happened in Austin Matthews. It's just I see the changes. You see the lack of success, even though the teams have kind of continually been very statistic. I mean, last year they said that, the regular season doesn't mean anything, and then they made it mean something to us because it was magical. They had the most points as ever a Leaf team. Matthews scores 60. They run the table, and you couldn't help but admire the regular season. But you go in and you play better against Tampa, but you still don't get the result. You talk about having a much better handshake and stuff like that, but you still didn't get the result. So you go into the summer and obviously with the contracts they signed, you're up against cap. But I just look at Sheldon Keefe, and I mentioned it tonight. I coached Sheldon Keefe, and for all the crap away from the rink, he's the most competitive kid I've ever coached. You threw a corner and he battled. I'm convinced if it wasn't for the outplay stuff and the injury, he would have been a superstar in the NHL. And he took no nights off. And part of what made him great and hungry too is when the poor sisters came into town, he ramped it up a notch. And because he wanted his cookies too, he scored against the good teams. But that's how scoring champions win scoring championships. And I watched that team the other night, and Shannon, this guy down like Brendan Shannon Wendell Clark, Milan Lucic, probably my favorite power forwards of all time. And I know these don't grow on trees anymore. Sorry, Kyper, they're just a little further down the list.
Did we lose him?
Hall of Famer for a reason. And when you see the product of the team, you don't see that element.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to know. Sorry, we think we're going to give him a call back.
Yeah, we're going to give him a call back.
We'll reconnect there. So I've heard him make that point before, and actually it's going to be around my follow-up with him in a sec. But the idea that the Leafs leadership is so competitive. I've told you, I've seen Kyle Dubas rip pitchers off the wall and smash them in frustration. Sheldon Keefe is a guy who has a reputation as someone who would cut out your heart to score a goal. And Brendan Shanahan is his whole legacy is punching people in the face on the way to scoring goals.
Yes.
So I think Fuchs finds it curious that this Leafs team doesn't have that element baked into it.
That will be always for me the $64 million question is that how can the makeup of those characteristics that you told me about not look like it should naturally follow
the leadership, the way that Rod Brindamore's guys.
Just to the on-ice product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we have Fuchs?
I think so.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
No, all good. Not your fault. I did want to follow up with something. In the past, I've heard you say that you've thought this Leafs team has been on track before when they had Bogosian and a different looking fourth line and Simmons and kind of lost their way a little bit. You feel like that was the best version of this Leafs team to date, right?
Well, the 2021, I think it was. I mean, I thought I was applauding Kyle. I mean, I think they added Foligno. They had Bogosian in the sixth hole. You know, they had, I think Thornton was in the lineup, Clifford, Simmons. And they weren't a thug team. But for me, it looked like they finally got it that they were going to be a hard team to play against in the playoffs. And then unfortunately, I thought, you know, I do think they lose JT right out of the gate and Foligno gets hurt. And I don't think this team played with the adrenaline it would have been if there was fans in the buildings. But I thought that was a lost opportunity that they should have walked through the Canadian division. And I know Freddie wasn't great, but he shouldn't have had to been great to beat out Montreal that year. And it was almost like it didn't work, so they just ripped up that plan and moved on to skill. And I mean, and I don't look at some of these players as soft. It's not like Mark Giordano is a warrior. I mean, it's the Hall of Famer. I love this kid. Jake Muzzin hits like a truck, but he's not a fighter. He's a warrior. This isn't soft players. Like Morgan Riley isn't a soft player. But when you start talking about Austin Matthews, we want him to take his physical game to another level. And because he was so frustrated the other night, he threw a huge body check. I don't want Austin Matthews becoming Wendell Clark. And with shoulder histories and stuff like that. And that doesn't mean I don't want him throwing the blade around, but that's not the development I want to see in his game. I just find that fourth line, and we talked about this, Bourne, and it's just a roster makeup that I find that I know on a team that's so analytic driven, sometimes you just have to look at facts. Like, it bothers me when people talk about the Colorado Avalanche. They don't have anybody like that. Well, they didn't in the playoffs because Curtis McDermott kept them safe for the entire season. And they rewarded him with a minimum contract NHL with a 2-year extension. He didn't play a game in the playoffs. And you talk to anybody in that room during the regular season, guys were spared injuries. Guys felt safer because he was on the ice. Like Milan Lucic used to tell me, and this Milan's scared of nobody, but players that play that kind of role, they look the night before and see who's in the other team's lineup. And if there's no deterrent, they have that individual thought in their mind where they want to go out and take runs at guys. And if there's no deterrent, it's free game. He says there are nights I got to look in, and if Curtis McDermott's in the lineup, I got to think twice if I want to go run around at McKinnon or what have you. And that gets your team to the playoffs, where sucking it up and going on the power play and burying you becomes a factor. But during the regular season, some of your star players are going to limp into the playoffs if they don't have protection. And I mean, that's why the first game, the first shift, I think it was Josh Anderson went in. It was either Muzz or Gio. He just ran them right through the boards. And I mean, and Tom Wilson, these are guys, and they're hard to find, don't get me wrong. But even the value of an Evander Kane, now if somebody wants to mess with a McDavid or Draisaitl, if Evander wants to play that role, he can do it. And again, it's not a turn it back to throwback. And I talked to Nick and I've talked to Bourne about this. Like when I was in Carolina last year, the most coveted piece, and I think the Leafs in Carolina.
Oh no!
Oh, he's just getting to the juicy part.
Hold on. Say that again, Fuchs.
If they're going to skill you to death, okay, those are the two guys. Those are probably the two teams that are going to take you on. But the player that Rod Brindamore coveted the most was Nick Delaurier, because he was sick and tired of watching his stars get run out of the building. Nick's a guy. If you look at his analytics, he should probably be in East Coast League. But if you look at what he brings to the room and the toughness he brings on the ice, okay, it's a different dimension. And that Carolina team, you can't tell me. And one of the reasons I'm back to full-time media is because of the Nick Delaurier seg and why we didn't get him and how we could have got him. And it didn't mean we would have won the Stanley Cup, but we were in first place at the time. Guys had the freedom to run around and take shots at Aho, take shots at Svechnikov. And the guys that end up doing the pushback are like the Tony DeAngelos of Players League. There's a freedom to run into Freddie in the crease because there's going to be no pushback. And you get guys like in the playoffs, like Trouba ripping Josh Jarvis head off the shoulders with a hit, because there's no deterrent, there's no thought. And you got the Rangers sitting over there with Ryan Reeves and players like that. And I just think it's an element that when you have it in your lineup, it's so much different. And it maybe you've got, and I know they're up against the cap, you got to find a way to move some of your skill for an element like that. And you talked about that fourth line that you love, Bourne. I'm not at all throwing you under the bus, but if that's the element you want in your fourth line, then 4 games into a season where you lost out in the first round of the playoffs and you're trying to impress a new coach, you should not be on the ice for the first 2 goals against that home against the Arizona Coyotes. Period.
Joined with Mike Vuda, former NHL executive, current analyst for Sportsnet. So did they make a mistake with not filling at least one spot with Wayne Simmons? He could still do that.
Well, he can do. I mean, that's the hard part. I mean, in Simmer, obviously I have a vested interest in Wayne Simmons, but I'm not talking about Wayne Simmons, the Philadelphia All-Star here. I'm talking to someone who just sits up in the booth and watches that and knows that that's his family down there and he wants to be able to help them out. And again, if that other element was to the point, like last year, all year long, he ran through Tampa, got a Maroon's face to just show them that we're not going to back down for you. He had a great first game, and then he takes the bad penalties in the second, and all of a sudden he's on the retirement program, like he's the reason they're losing. And that's just my personal opinion, but that element, whether it be, in an ideal world, you develop that kicker. Like when we drafted in Los Angeles, obviously we won a couple cups and Darryl was amazing. We had a well-balanced team, but we drafted like Kyle Cliffords and on that team that we won with, and it was a different style team. We were skilled, but we had Jordan Nolan and Dwight King and kids that if anybody wanted to mess with Kopitar and the big boys, then there was guys that were going to, not only could they play and kill penalties, but they were going to answer the bell. And it's frustrating too, because when you build a roster, I'm going to give them full credit. Like this Bunting, what a pickup. But okay, so you pick up a guy like Bunting, whose key is to be kind of like Marchand Light, a rat. Now, this guy's going to go in and do his job, and you know what's going to happen, Kipper? There's going to be scrum central. And who's coming into the scrum? Matthews and Marner. What's going to happen? Okay? Yeah. It's not going to be pretty. And you're going to have guys that you don't need getting hurt, get beaten up. Just come Bunting's doing effectively what he has, but there's nothing to back it up to help him out if he needs some help. And it's not a deterrent for him, but that's just part of your team's identity. And you look back, and everybody has their mistakes and stuff, and I'm giving them full credit for that. But like Mark Hunter brings Mason Marchment in. And one of the things I talked about, and first of all, Mason Marchment wins this Calder Cup with Keefe and Dubs, so they should know exactly what they have, is when I was working in the industry, there's certain last names that when you saw them go through, you gave them an extra look. And obviously there's the elite, like the Tkachuks, that you know what you're getting. You're getting hockey-driven kids. In my case, it was like with Curtis McDermott, right? I knew what his dad was all about, so I was going to let Dermy have to get through the bad skating and all that because his work ethic was beyond, and his competitiveness was going to think. So you obviously, God bless Mosh, we love him to death, but this kid was sitting right under their lap, right? And they had all the development money in the world, and they developed him into what he is now for the Florida Panthers, and now tonight for the Dallas Stars. And how does the second line look with Marchment, with Tavares? And I know the guy they traded for him, he's skilled to death, but tonight he's going to be in a suit. So there's just certain things that developing your own toughness and your internal, or even if you have to give up a little bit to get it in your lineup, I just think it's invaluable. It's just absolutely invaluable.
Sammy's in a puddle of his own drool thinking about Marchment, Tavares, and Nylander.
I don't even think about him. I don't even think about him at all. That's what he says.
But it's not like a hidden on it. They won. You talk about, there's so much made about this Calder Cup championship that they built. And, obviously, you don't want to take anything away from it, but you want to come out of a championship, like not with a ring with like a bunch of non-prospects, but there was one just right under their nose that they developed. But they knew the intangibles with the dad brought team like that, that's the kind of player that takes you to another level because of that kind of grit and pride, local kid, everything under the bus that helps you. And now you put yourself in a position, you come out, you traded for a goaltender that was going to be your number one goalie who's had a history of injuries. Worst scenario, gets hurt. Okay, frees you up some cap space to get some of these other kids in their belt. You've got another goaltender that Washington, who wants to win a Stanley Cup, didn't have faith in. Hopefully for the team, he looks great the other night, but you got to stand up for him and hope he gets his confidence back. And again, forget you're playing the Arizona Coyotes the other night. You're throwing in a guy, if it was his second or third NHL start, if not his first. You want to come out gangbusters and get that guy some confidence too. Not have him be in a first loss against the last place team. And I the other night I called them the Washington Generals. I felt bad because Bill Armstrong and Andre Tournier, they're good friends, and that's a team obviously in the rebuild. And they were very opportunistic. But for me, I sat there, and I know, Bourne, you love your analytics. And I sat with my dad, and for the first 11 minutes, they had the puck in the stick like the Globetrotters. And I looked up and expected to see it 11-0 or 12-0 shots, and it was 3-0. And then it's Kipper, you let somebody hang around long enough, there's going to be a bounce, there's going to be a break, and all of a sudden you're on your heels. And all of a sudden the Leafs wake up with 6 minutes left, and they turn into the Leafs that we all want to watch. And they find a way to tie it up, and then they didn't deserve it because that play, whether it was the right call or the wrong call, that team should never be in that position. And again, for me, it's not getting down. It's just you guys. It's like when Vladdy said, "This is the preview" or "This is the movie this year." Yeah. Okay, there's so much expectations that for a team like Tampa Bay is off to a bad start, but as I said, they played 16 rounds of playoffs. Give them a pass. This team is supposed to come out full of piss and vinegar, new look, and get off to a start. Now, for injuries aside, that game the other night shouldn't have been close, and it shouldn't have been left to a referee call to get it to that point. And now you hear about the injuries, like Muzz could be out long term. And of course, everybody's, well, now we need to add 2 top D or 2 skilled D. Now we have the cap space for 2 top D. Well, you name the team right now lined up to help the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like those guys are hard to find. Right? It's hard to make a trade in the National Hockey League. And I believe you brought it up, Kyper. I think I was reading your thing the other day. The kid in Arizona. Sorry, left shot D. Yeah. Everybody, okay, Chikrin. But everybody wants Chikrin. Okay, and if you and I know I don't want to get into the thing I sent you, Bourne, the other day because it's way too much overkill. But to acquire Chikrin, you have to have assets, and you have to have the ability to give up something. And with the amount of pieces that have moved, it's not that easy. It's not that easy if Muzz comes back, and God, I hope he does because I love him to death, and for him and his family, I hope he gets better. But you've got these guys that if they come back, you have to have space for them. And this guy, like I know, because Arizona being on the other end of this guy, they were asking for like 3 first-round picks. They want your top young player. They want your top guy's firstborn. They're not. They know they have a big chip here, and they're not going to be doing the Toronto Maple Leafs a favor. Who has a very some good prospects. I mean, God bless the kid that had the aneurysm or whatever. He was a great prospect. He's got some work to be done, but there's not a lot of chips that you can just throw at him that's going to make Army go up and down saying, "Oh yeah, we're ready to give you our top young left shot D that's on a great contract for whatever guys that can't make your lineup or picks that you don't have." So it's not I know in the Toronto, and it's part of what makes Toronto. But as I said, like this is the market, and it comes with the pressure of being in this market. And as you know better than anybody, Chipper, but it's not just it's like look at the Dodgers right now. They scored 111 games. I was reading articles about run Mookie Betts out of town. Justin Turner retire. This guy's and they've got a championship under their belt. So and it brings Toronto. And I talk about this because the one guy that's impressed me more than anything through all this stuff is Matthews, because I see his interviews. And he has a calm, cool, collect. If anybody seems to get it about what it's like to be in Toronto, the way he responds to a Steve Simmons question, the way he came out yesterday with this look. I mean, I think someone asked me the other day about his childhood days in Arizona. He said, well, I got to answer this every year. But he wasn't condescending. But it's like, there's a difference for me. There's a fine line between confident and cocky and skilled and arrogant and skilled. And, for me, if you're confident and cocky, who I think I wouldn't want him any other way, you're going to find a way to get your results. If you're arrogant and skilled and you haven't accomplished anything, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think there's some other guys that just got to buy in a little bit more to the compete side of, I mean, I know you've all got your money, but I know you want a ring. And I think if you win a ring, it allows you a couple months in the summer to be arrogant. But until you've done that, grab your pants and go to work here, because this fan base loves you. And I mean, of course, they're the ones that are going to, like I told my dad, I can almost time the booze when it's going to happen, 4 games in. But there's people there. And I mean, I know I laugh. I mean, thank God I had someone donate. It's had Amazing Grace Bowen's family. There was a donated box. But if I was somebody that paid whatever, $400, $500, that's tough. That's a tough one to take in if that's the only game I'm going to see that year. And again, I mean, there's people there. I want to see them do it, but there's certain things that are self-inflicted wounds. And I think that if you throw analytics out, and not entirely, I know it's here to stay, but you can't tell me or name me a team that's looking at their jewelry over the past 5 or 6 years that simply outskilled teams. They either outgoaled them, period. Usually your goaltender is somebody that's homegrown and he's up for the Conn Smythe in the playoffs. Whether he wins it or not, you're talking about, I mean, even last year, Darcy Kemper had to be good when he was good. That's a different team built if you look at that defense compared to what we're talking about here. It's just it's a unique thing that you better have some grit in your lineup, and it's going to help this skill get by without pretending that they're like, I mean, and we got it last year. We had near the playoffs. We were like, they came at us in the playoffs, and Ryan Reeves would go into a scrum, and all of a sudden Vincent Trocheck's got his elbows up, and Ahu's slashing guys behind the whistle, and now Svechnikov thinks he's got to get into it. Guys, they get away from what makes them great, right, trying to be something that should also already be in your lineup, and that's Sorry for the ramble, Kipper, but I love you to death, and I swear to God, I this is the most frustrating thing, especially being on the outside looking in. And all you have to do is watch hockey and talk about it. And this is not a slander, whatever, do this or shame. It's not, because I've never seen a team that doesn't resemble the makeup. And because I don't know Kyle's background as a player, but they're the major. Usually, there's a little bit of resembling your front office on the ice with the amount of balance between incredible skill and absolutely ferocious, tenacious effort.
Foots, let's get you back on the show when you have a little bit more to say.
Kipper, this is what happens when you get on once a month. I mean,
that's right. We need a regular spot for Foots.
I'm not even Tim, and I'm not even like now. Next time I go on Tim and Friends, I'm going to say, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary.
All right. Hey,
anyway,
we got to sell something, for God's sakes. Thank God you had to breathe. Hey,
okay.
Thanks for doing this, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Foots. You're the best.
All right. Thanks, Fuda. Like he got shot out of a cannon.
The man has thoughts.
Oh, my God. You know, Marty Turco's got thoughts, too.
He does.
Oh, yeah. Hope he can breathe a little bit more, though.
No. Let him run. I love it. I love it.
Let's go to break. We're back. More Real Kyper and Bourne, Marty Turco. Teeing up Dallas versus the Leafs tonight.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center, I'm Carling Donahue. Heading out on the West 401, we have a collision west of Leslie in the Collectors, blocking the right-hand lane. You're going to find it busy 404 all the way out to Dixon. Traveling on the East QEW, it's a slow go Appleby to east of 3rd and approaching Ford Drive all the way out to Dixie. And on city streets, eastbound Rexdale at the 427, 2 left lanes are blocked with a collision.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, waiting on Marty Turco, former National Hockey League All-Star.
You have Cutes back on for a couple answers. You wait.
Boots is getting some love
On Twitter.
On Twitter.
We'll have to make him a more regular guest. Man has opinions and knows his stuff.
Brian Dempsey at bdemps82 says, this interview with Fuda is gold. Tell the snowbird Doug McLean he better watch out. He may lose his #1 guest role.
You think Doug's heart would be broken? Doug would be like, great.
I got it. Hey, Brian, if you're listening, send that tweet one more time, but tag at Doug McLean. I think that's his Twitter.
I'll see it in
and I
3
will
weeks
and I
when he's
will
in the
like
Alps
it
or something.
and I will like it, and we'll just we'll wait for a response.
See how Doug feels about that.
They're embarrassing themselves with these idiotic comments.
All right. 22 years ago. What happened to our next guest? Any idea? Oh, no, wait. Let's ask him.
Oh, he's here.
Marty Turco?
Mm-hmm.
What happened 22 years ago today?
Did I save myself $1,000 by losing my first game ever?
Yes. Is that all you remember?
I mean, it's the dumbest thing. Well, I gave my childhood idol, Ron Francis, 3 points, played against Archer Zerbe, and was the happiest guy on the planet. First game. Damn.
Wow.
That's my guess.
What was
Correct.
What was Ronnie Francis? 1 and 2, 2 and 1?
I think 1 and 2 as a rebound off my jock. That was 1. I took 2 penalties in the first period of that game.
Did you really?
Wow.
I swear. Yeah, I swear. And even worse or better, depends who you are, but for you guys, you'll like this one. They both they both were to go put us down 3 on 5, 2 men short both times, and they both were for shooting the puck over the glass. And I swear to you, the guy caught the puck both times. Same dude.
Oh, my God. Wow.
I'm not making it.
What a crazy first
on
period.
ESPN.
Awesome stuff.
And even better note, for my sake, yeah, we killed off both 5-on-3s. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, so here we are 22 years later. What's the deal now? What are you, a special assistant to the special, what, chef? What?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Except I eat everything. Run the foundation, work with the boss, and try to make everybody happy in the great state of Texas. So it's a fun gig.
3-0. Like, what do you like? What have you seen so far out of Dallas?
A lot of good things. First things first, new coach, great history with first seasons with their new team. So it's just actually a lot more fun to watch our guys play. It looks like the shackles are off. I know it's not that extreme, but it's just playing with more fun, more creativity, a little more belief. Our young guys are awesome. Our future looks bright, and our older guys are excited about the way the game is played. I think also that our goalie, young as he is, provides us a tremendous amount of confidence. He signed. He had an unreal playoff series last year, and even though our other goalie, Wedgie's going to get a home province start tonight, I think all those things add up to just some good stuff. I mean, we played Nashville twice. They come back from Czech. So, me, I'm a goalie. I'm always a little hesitant, but the boys look good. They sound good, and hopefully keep the train rolling.
One person who's been a feature attraction of our show today is former Toronto Maple Leaf Mason Marchment. What have you seen out of Marchie 3 games into his Dallas Stars career?
Well, he's a mature young man, and he's matured physically, mentally is what it looks like, and he's just ready to take on, a little more activity in the NHL. There's a reason why we went and got him. So he's been a breath of fresh air. Plays hard and he's got some passion. So it just resonates well with me anyway, but our fan base as well and our team. He's been good, man. He's he fills out the lineup, so it's amazing.
As far as an overall identity, what can the scoring get back up with Sagan and Ben? Are they gonna run you out of a building? Can they play big and heavy consistently? Like overall, where is the Dallas Stars in the West?
Well, you're leading the witness. I don't appreciate that. But honestly, TBD. I just think we could skate with anybody, and moving the puck and getting out of our own zone will be vital. I mean, kind of what everybody's trying to do, but we're not going to run anybody out of the building. I think when push comes to shove in the Central, we're not going to probably just dominate on the scoring side, but probably a well-rounded game. We're going to need our goalies at some point to start, steal a few games here and there. Our top two guys of dollar amount, Siggy and Ben, I think they're happy. I think they love where they're at. They play with some veterans, or they play with some young guys, and they're going to play with, a lot of speed, which, from the last couple of years, has been a little bit different. And so I just think everybody's a little happier and excited to come to work. We also haven't had adversity yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully not in the shape of losing streaks, but something at some point. So I think it's just a well-balanced, well-rounded team with a good mix of old and young. And, who cares who gets points as long as the W is hung on the board at the end of the night.
One of the feature players there in Dallas, Joe Pavelski, is the third oldest player in the NHL to play a game this season. In your experience around the league, what sort of attributes make for a player who can still have success just older? Leave it there.
Yeah. I just love when people bring up my age when I was playing. But Joe is, there's people say, hey, it brings a lot to locker room and leadership. Well, even when it comes down to goal scoring and production, you got to walk it. You got to walk it every day in this league. You just can't, hang on accolades or age or leadership. And Joe plays on one of those most dangerous lines in the game, and it's the oddest combination, which I love to watch every night. Robo wasn't at camp. He still got his feet underneath him, but you got Joe, who's kind of pulls a lot of people in, and just because he's a good dude. He's doing great teams, and he is, got some moxie, but he also plays on that top line. And so Rupe Hintz is flying, he's scoring goals and trying to grow out his hair at the same time. And, Joe's that anchor. He's in front of the net, he's behind the net, he's, slow to the neutral zone, but he gets the job done at the end of the day. So it's impressive to watch him, and I think he's got a lot of fans, a lot of people cheering him on, and I know I am one of them.
Marty, last season, we watched Jake Ottinger go from a third-string bubble goalie to watching something historic in a Game 7 against Calgary, which was like just mind-numbing watching this guy keep the Dallas Stars in it. And I'm just wondering now, could this guy be the next Marty Turco? Where is his ceiling here?
That's hard to say. I mean, right now there is none because he's so young, and it's just great to be around. He's a nice kid, and he's got confidence, he's got swagger, but it's quiet. And this year, I don't know, maybe it's because of that playoffs last year, but watching him was like, man, I feel great about our team just looking at him. The way he's moving, the poise that he has, that's the next step for him, and so far so good. He's going to have lulls in the season, no doubt. How quick you get out of them is kind of the name of the game for that position. But I can't even think of there being a a ceiling. You know, we can work on the skill set, the puck movement, and you know, just continue to be on the path that he is. I mean, he really took a bolt of lightning and turned it into something just really special. Not that he wasn't good before, but what we've seen already this year on and off the ice, that matter, has been just something that you're just saying, right? Like, how is this kid real, right? And he is. And how long is this run going to last? And how good is it going to be? Is, you know, nobody knows, but it's just quite the potential. And you know, I was asked today, like, you know, what do you think about him with, you know, my wins record here in this franchise? And I'm like, I can't wait to shake his hand. Honestly, that means we're in a good spot, and that means for a long time. And he's good. And my standard line these days is like, man, he's 6'5", he's 23, he's on his way to being rich. He's nice, he's good looking. I mean, I hate the guy, right? I'm not a jealous type, but this guy's going to bring the worst out of me, I think. But honestly,
no good son of a bitch.
He's a great kid. I know. I'm like, why'd you do that to me? But he's good, man. He's good. We're very, very lucky, and you know, we spotted it years ago, and he's probably fast-tracked his way to being, you know, a legit contender as the number one guy for Team USA when those things show up on the calendar.
Well, Marty, we couldn't possibly let you go before we had you weigh in on what's going on here in Toronto. You know, the team had high expectations, has had a couple of really crushingly disappointing losses. They brought in a goaltender in Matt Murray, who, you know, was trying to rejuvenate his career, hurt right away. You know, you guys see the Toronto Maple Leafs coming. What are your thoughts on what's unfolding here north of the border?
I thought you were going to say it was snowing up there. I was going to feel bad for y'all.
No.
I wore shorts golfing yesterday. I was thinking of you, Kyper. You guys, the Maple Leafs. You know, I saw the frustration on, you know, Sheldon's face on the press conference. I mean, you guys do. The team has just bona fide superstars and young and a great nucleus. So, you know, they got to get their crap together. It's funny, when I was in the Sioux my last year trying to play, I had Matt Murray most of the year. He was there as a 17-year-old, and then Kyle traded for Jack Campbell later that year. So I had both of them there at one point, and I was really excited to see Matt, you know, get the nod during camp once he signed to be the starter. And it sucks that he got hurt, but hopefully he gets speedy recovery. Yeah, I think you're going to see a little different games, and I'm actually really excited to watch it. You know, just for, you know, Toronto's sake, to see, you know, these guys come out and as talented as they are, to probably put work first and skill second, and then I'll see if your goalie can, you know, if you know, this guy can get on a roll for you know, that while Matt's out. He's been there before. There's no reason why he can't. I just hope they catch fire maybe on Saturday instead of tonight for my team's sake. But I expect a good game with some good emotion. And, you know, you guys are just too talented, really. So to be down, it's just hard, man. It's the start of the year. We all know the stats, right, of you can't make the playoffs, but you sure can miss the playoffs early in the season. So points are at a premium. It's not no panic button, but you got to start winning hockey games, at least feeling like you're playing winning hockey. And what I've seen so far, they're not. And it's in there. So I'll expect to see some good vinegar tonight out of the guys.
Marty, just quickly before I let you go, I think you're the perfect guy to ask this. Like, can goalies play 60 games and still have plenty of juice to play in the playoffs anymore?
Yeah, they can, I think.
Okay.
And I'm biased. You know, we did it, but can they all do it? No. The 32 goalies cannot do that. I think it does take a special breed, and it depends on how serious and focused they are, you know. Probably, looking back, there's probably about 4 or 5 cases of beer during the year I wish I wouldn't have drank, but I did, and I was still playing 60, 70 some games, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. I think they can. That's just my short answer. It comes down to the individual. You know, I don't talk workload management or whatever its term is today. Whatever the analytics say, better chance not playing. But every time Dave Tippett asked me if I was ready to go, the answer is yes. I was honest with him about my body, but I also worked out all year long. I was in the gym, and Mr. Hicks paid me to win hockey games, and that's the way I looked at it. And so, game 1, game 82, and game 1 of the second round, like it's all the same, So I don't know. I got an old school opinion on that, but
all right,
that's how
pal.
I feel.
Listen, always appreciate your time on the show.
No, you guys are awesome. Enjoy.
Okay.
Thanks,
Have fun
Marty.
tonight watching the game. Marty Turco.
All right. See ya.
Okay. Going from Mike Fuda to Marty today was like going off the roller coaster and then jumping into the swan in the man-made pond.
And listen, both great things on their own. Love them both. But there was some whiplash. Reverse whiplash.
What's going on today, boys? Full moon?
I don't know.
Full moon
I
today?
have no idea.
Love it. I love
Is
it.
Mercury in retrograde?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I got to ramp it back up here. That's
So I only asked the last. I only asked that last question to Marty because Scott Wedgwood is in today.
Yep.
I wanted to see Jake Ottinger.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see Austin and Mitch against him tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would have been great, but this is strictly analytics here. This is saying that we got to manage his starts, and this one was in the books all day long for Dallas, I think, and Peter DeBoer not to play Jake in this game.
Haven't we established that the solution to playing more is just doing what Marty said and having guys like drink a few more cases of beer, eat some fast food, like being a little bit more pliable? Was it Mike McKenna who came on and basically said,
I had a horrible bod and I never got hurt.
Never got hurt. Like for goaltenders, I don't know, maybe they don't need to play 41 games. Maybe they just need to, just stretch and eat some steak. I don't know.
All right, we do have a few news and notes, but before that, I did say earlier on the show that I'd like to revisit an article that I wrote for the Toronto Star about the.
You don't want to talk about the
thought-
reverse retro jerseys first? Okay.
Johnny journalism.
We'll talk
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get into my Johnny journalism because when Muzzin went down, I think for me, I envisioned that blue line without Jake Muzzin, and I hope he's okay, and I hope he's back in a week. But if he is, there's always going to be that thought that you could lose him at any time, and you just wonder where that would leave the Leaf blue line all season long, or
Can't see them winning a cup without Muzzin if his money's on there.
But-
like he's a crucial piece of that
there's
back
many
end.
of us that believe that even with Muzzin, it might not be enough of a blue line still to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So I wrote an article about Jake Chychrun and certainly talked about his injuries. Talked about that, there's many out there, scouts or other teams that may have some questions about his game. But the point that I try to make is that he is their best and perhaps only option if they want to do something significant, which I think the thought of Jake Muzzin not being there or not recovering puts him in a position to really think about going after someone like Jacob Chychrun. And now, instead of that
March,
token March first rounder for a rental.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. I learned a lot reading that article. Well done on your part. One of the things, so two things. One, I didn't realize that he had some injury history. You mentioned surgery on both knees, whatever. I mentioned to you before the show, that doesn't faze me at all. Like, he's not 34. Well, how old is he?
24.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. It's not uncommon for guys to have gone through some things, and that salary is just so cheap. You look at, was it Matthias Samuelsson just signed with the Buffalo Sabres for 8? I know. And it's like for 4.8, whatever. Chychrun makes 4.6.
And 3 more runs at a cup.
Yeah, 3.
If you get him now.
So the other thing is that, you thought it was conceivable they could do it without giving up.
Yeah, I had mentioned that I really believe if you structure something around 2 first-round picks – and possibly one other sweetener, you can get the deal done. But again, I don't know. I don't know what that compares to 5 or 6 other teams. And maybe there is a AA prospect out there that they'd rather go to than the 2 first-rounders. But I think that would put the Leafs in the ballpark for him.
Yeah. The Leafs want to hang on to Nyes, right? Not that anyone is immovable, because it's the dumbest thing in the world to say we're not moving. This guy. There's always a price.
The people that I've talked to believe that there is a deal to be made without Matthew Nyes.
Well, that's fascinating because that's what they would like to do. But Dubas does get killed for trading picks.
I feel bad having a conversation about Jacob Chychrun because I feel like I don't know what he is at all as a hockey player.
Well, he's been in Arizona in your defense. Hasn't been playing meaningful hockey.
You're not the only one talking about a team that's made the playoffs maybe once in a gazillion years.
I love the idea of a young, guy that's going to come in here, 24. You got him for 3 more years at a good number that you're going to have to trade all your finest meats and cheeses for. But I do worry about that it's a completely different kettle of fish going from that situation to this situation and plugging him in here and just expecting him to be the savior. Trading, what are you going to have to trade? Like you said, multiple first-round picks, prospects. It's a very scary proposition to me as a guy who has never really watched him play a hockey game.
But you and Foots actually talked about the amount of draft picks that have gone out for Kyle Dubas. Last year, we did not see the Leafs make their first-round pick available. You cannot see the same scenario this year.
No.
If I'm
Kyle Dubas with no extension, I'm trading all the firsts. Let's get good today.
One has to be back in play if you need it at the trade deadline. You said moments ago he might get killed on the amount of draft picks already out.
Yeah.
But can you see him getting killed if he doesn't make any more available, that you've gone this far and now you have to be all in?
It's like in poker when you've kind of been like small blind, big blind, you eventually got to push all your chips in. You just don't have enough left to mess around with. That's kind of where the Leafs are at. It's if it's going to be now or never, then push them all in.
Sammy, would you, if you're not thinking about Chychrun,
I'm thinking about Patty Kane. That's all I can think about. That's the acquisition I want.
This guy and Patty Kane.
Yeah, I look at the blue line, and I think if I can get another 20 to 22 minute guy in there, and I also think about what a guy like Chychrun or another top 4 defenseman could do for Morgan Rielly. I think Morgan Rielly's stressed back there. I think Horace is back there. I think the ask constantly and the pressure on Morgan Rielly is just too much for him. He has to be Mr. Everything out there. He has to push.
He has been his whole Leafs career.
And he's really been a man on an island on that.
Yeah. It would be interesting to know. Let's say you're prepared to offer a package of 2 first-round picks. Rasmus Sandin. I don't know who you said.
Sandin.
Someone like that. 2 firsts and Sandin. If you went around to other teams in the league, what becomes available for that, cost? I don't know.
But you cannot, if that's a good cost, that could get, everybody else has a $6 million defenseman or a 7 or an expiring one.
Sure.
So you can go trade a first rounder for Klingberg, but can you get Klingberg to stay after that?
Not for 4.6, I can't.
No, you cannot. So that's where it really is the only
thing.
Can
play the right? That's another complicating factor. It's like another great player who maybe isn't the puzzle piece fit. Listen, they want him.
Would you take Dumba for a first rounder and a prospect?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For a rental?
Yeah, I would. Yep, yeah. But listen, the Chychrun thing, I understand he's he's an elite guy.
You already did that thing already once with Nick Foligno, where you went a first and a fourth and watched him walk out the door. You're gonna do that again.
Nick Foligno was, a hurt man. He's a broken man.
To me, there's just no, if you're the Wild, you don't trade Dumba though.
No, they're too good, but they got salary issues of their own.
I guess they're playing with a smaller cap.
Kipper's gonna say they're 0-3-0.
They're done.
They're done.
Do you know what they have in dead?
Yeah, it's
space?
true. They have a different cap space than everybody else.
What are they at now? Is it
They've
14 yet?
Their cap is minus $15 million.
Yeah.
That's three. Oh, let's do math now. That's three $5 million players. You think $5 million could help them?
Yeah.
They're like
Dumba's
that's
a
what's-
stud.
That's
Right
what's,
shot
That's
D
what's
man,
missing
28.
for Minnesota.
Mm.
Hey, might be tough to make the playoffs here.
Wow.
Dumba should be available.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, now we're
That-
talking.
okay.
And he also runs into people, which I like.
But it will be expensive. Dumba would be a first and maybe a grade A prospect.
Yeah.
For a rental, guys.
Yeah.
Dumba will make, if the cap goes up like people are talking about, Dumba is 7.
Well, and also
7.5.
Kyle Dubas has been pretty vocal about not liking straight up rentals. He's obviously made some exceptions, but generally it's been, was it Muzzin? And Muzzin had a year, and Campbell had an extra year, and a lot of the trades he's made, it's been for guys who have at least another year of term. I'm sure it's appealing to have a guy like Chychrun for more years. If you're going to give up picks, you're at least getting a couple more years out of the guy.
Here's the thing that I don't know if we're talking about either, too, is like specialty teams, the power play is, I don't think it's getting talked enough about how.
Well, there's no conversation to be had. That's why.
How it went from a 31% or a 32% in the middle of the season last year to non-existent. And I can almost make an argument that maybe it was the power play that was the difference between Tampa losing or winning to Tampa.
Sure you can.
Okay.
And they're going to say it's a small sample.
It's not looking good again. And I like Morgan, but Morgan is not a grade A power play guy.
Right.
Chychrun solves that.
Sold. I'm sold.
Does he?
Listen, well, I've been... So I love Morgan Riley, the player. He's not my favorite power play guy. I've made that clear in this show many times. I don't like him on the power play. I don't think he's got a big shot. I don't think he's quick with his decisions. Too much dusting it off. Sure. Would love a guy that comes in and makes a difference. The problem is, you look at their power play last year, Kyper, and it was his first in the NHL. Is that good?
Yeah, but horrific for the last month and a half.
I understand
including
that.
the playoffs.
But, it's the same people who finished first.
Mhm.
It's the same people who've shown they can do it.
It's also the same people that watched it in the first half and said, "Hey, just take away this guy because Morgan can't shoot the puck. He doesn't have a cannon back there. That's the guy we want the puck." So it changed.
Take away the seam, make him move it to Morgan.
It changed. Once they figured out that the threat is more on the 34 side than anywhere else, then you need another threat.
If you had a guy up there who could shoot it, which by the way is not Giordano, is not Sandin, is not on the team. If you had a guy who could bomb it, you draw that top penalty killer out a little bit to at least respect that threat, and it opens seams, and all of a sudden,
Jacob Chychrun, by the way, has 17 career power play goals in 5 seasons as a defenseman.
pretty darn good.
It's a
And
lot.
Morgan,
I don't have that in front of me, but he's got 37 career power play points, Jacob Chychrun, as well.
Yeah.
So I can look
Yeah.
up Morgan here quickly.
yeah. I mean, no, forget it. Don't do that.
I'm doing it right now because it's probably not going to fit our narrative here. I don't think
No.
he's going to have.
Well,
a lot.
Morgan's had 600 or 700 games, and Jacob's had
Yeah, half
that.
Yeah.
So it's
No, our narrative is actually very well. Yeah, he has 12 in his career. Morgan Riley,
Yeah.
12 power play goals,
Wow, I
And-
cannot
and-
believe he has
and
12.
and Chychrun has 17 in 5 years. Yeah, so I mean that's our narrative. been filled.
11 or 12 in 3 years.
Mhm.
So we're
On bad
talking about
teams.
different players, and I just think that if you're going to be a skilled player and you're not running anybody over or going through people constantly in the playoffs, then your best friend has to be your power play.
Mm-hmm. Well, particularly if you're not going to have a heavyweight on the
Okay.
team, someone that might
Here's
feud
here's one more thought on again getting Morgan Riley help is that if he just picks his spots more,
Mm-hmm.
he can defend better.
Yeah. Well, and now that he has that contract, it's like there's no need to go get points to earn your
there's
money.
nothing.
Now just play defense.
You got
and-
your 60 large.
Yeah, now jump in when you need
The
to,
only
but
thing
mostly
Morgan
keep the
needs-
puck out of your net.
The only thing Morgan needs is the team to be good.
Yeah.
Not playing 24 minutes, not playing
He needs
a
nothing.
minute and a half on the power play.
I agree.
He just needs the team to win, and he'll be a god here. Like
I
all
really
the-
like
all the-
Morgan Riley. Like when I hear him in interviews.
like we've all dreamt about.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
Okay.
Okay. He makes 7.5, not 12 for a
Okay,
reason.
I have to get to this or else I'm going to make Sammy cry, but he really wants to talk about the unis, the the retro
All right,
jerseys.
I'm pulling them up. The reverse retros. If you haven't seen them yet.
It's a hot button item.
All right,
amongst
let's go.
fans.
I'm hot button guy.
32 new sweaters released in the NHL.
Yes.
Kipper, here you go.
Oh, no, I got them right here on my phone.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I'm a big time jersey guy, so this is a very exciting day for me.
Right off the bat, let me go first. Not a big powder blue guy. I see it on Florida and in Montreal.
Okay, let me stop you right there. The nicest jersey of the whole thing is the Florida Panthers
Those
powder
are
blue.
candy-ass uniforms.
Oh, they are sexy.
No, hey.
Those are, you know what? Those are right out of the kind of Miami vibes that they've been doing with the, the basketball team.
I see that jersey. I'm going straight to the beach.
Yes, that's what Florida is. They're selling who they are.
Yeah, yeah. And you're going to the beach because there are no hockey games.
You know what, though, Kipper? If you look from a distance at that sweater, doesn't it look like a golf club crossing the palm tree?
Oh, yeah.
I love the sweater, but if that were a golf club, that'd be a great logo for a high-end club.
What do you see there? Do you see an Odyssey putter? What do you see?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, like it does look like a putter. Just a nice, with a fat grip on it there.
But
all right.
the most pertinent and most important one we have to talk about is the Leafs. And
which, Sammy, I came in and you said 10 out of 10.
Okay,
nailed it.
My thoughts?
I don't know. My first thought is it looks like something I've seen 1,000 times.
Well, yeah, I mean it's blue and white with a leaf on it.
Okay.
So that's what they always. They can't go.
What do you think? The last one they did sucked.
It was horrible.
This one is beautiful.
I'm just really.
That's a hockey
I'm
sweater.
thrilled that they didn't try to be a different team for the reverse retro. Like they didn't try to be the St. Pat's or the Arenas or whatever. It's like, oh, it's nice that their
was not a hit.
It's nice that their third jersey has a leaf on it, and it's a very cool retro leaf. I like the white shoulders. I would have preferred them just to come out with the Sundin era blue shoulder ones, like the throwback ones that they had there for a long time. But,
the Davy Keon one I remember.
well, the one that they wore when I was a kid,
Yeah.
basically. So I'm a big fan. I'm happy. If I was 24 years old, I'd buy it, but I don't have any occasions to wear a jersey anymore. So.
I see San Jose Sharks, which kind of goes, I think, of the California Golden Seals.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I can't believe how badly the Detroit Red Wings have been mangled in the reverse process twice in a row.
Horrible.
That to me is last place.
To me, number one, Penguins.
Oh man, what a beauty!
I just see Mario.
Yeah.
Wearing that shirt.
Yeah, that looks like it's been an actual jersey before. It's so perfect.
Yes,
Vegas's logo glows in the dark, which is very Vegas.
So
and
what? They don't pay their electricity bills that they need
no,
this?
they put on a show before the game. They're in the dark.
They
There's
come
a
out in the
night.
dark with warmy, and they got
It could be a little showier for me, though. I understand it glows in the dark, but a little plain for Vegas for me. But
I will never, ever accept that guy on the Islander jersey.
the fisherman.
Yeah.
You know why they messed up the fisherman jersey? They took the soul
Fisherman's
out
friend?
of it.
Yeah, what was the
At least have the
Captain Highliner.
Captain Highliner? Yeah, never, ever.
At least have, if you're going to go back to the fisherman, which, everyone fought, or Lou Lamoriello fought anyway, at least do it with the things that made it unique and silly with the teal and all that. This kind of took the soul out of it. I don't love it.
Okay, if I ever
Love Ziggy Palfy. Big fan.
ever spend this much time talking about jerseys ever again on this show.
We put up with your stuff. You got to talk jerseys with us.
Take that baseball bat in your office and just hit me over the head right away.
Beat it.
It's nice that the NHL does this. That they give the jersey freaks like me a nice little treat.
Love
here
the
and
Kings, love the Wild, right?
There. It's nice.
Yeah.
People, I know you don't. I know you don't give a crap, but they matter.
Like
Coyotes
you,
too.
they get suckers like you to dish out another $350 for a jersey.
Yeah, great. Then we can get HRR up, and we get the salary cap up, and we get good players in Toronto.
Can I tell you something about the salary cap?
Please do.
Just make it whatever you want. You're Gary Bettman, man. You could put it up
I gotta
2
tell
million,
you,
3 million,
I love that
4
take.
million. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, it's your pencil with the eraser. You are the accountant.
God, it's such a good point.
You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, do we need Jeremy Jacobs to get every penny back he's owed from Patrice Bergeron before we could raise the cap?
And your top teams are dying right now with their cap.
Listen to the man.
Okay, they're
Listen to
dying.
him.
It's embarrassing. It is humiliating that the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid cannot fill out a roster in game one because of this stupid salary cap. Just put it up. Go to your owners, get them to stroke another million. Would the Leafs stroke another $2 million to get the cap up?
I bet you that
with the Rangers, it's not that hard.
No, it's not. I do wonder if you went to the Leafs and said, "We'll raise the cap $2 million if you give us $20 million." If the Leafs would go, "Okay, we can work with that."
Hey, bring some of that milk money out. How much you want?
It's always baffled me why they don't just do the NBA model with the luxury tax.
Like, if you want the rich teams, if they want to spend, let them spend.
Yeah, and they just got to pay more money.
Yeah.
More money to you. Right. It's like, you don't think the Leafs would pay a $200 million tax bill to have the best team in the league by far?
Success. The Leafs could spend whatever they wanted forever and messed it up. It's possible.
Yeah.
Jack Campbell back between the pipes tonight for the first time since Saturday as the Oil take on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, that's a tough game, too.
Coming in hot.
Oh, yeah. Right? I can't wait.
You want Jack to just...
Are you nervous for Jack?
I'm full on hate watching, Kip. I just can't wait.
He wants Jack to get
just move on.
No, don't do that. Jack's way too nice of a guy to cheer against. Stop it.
We're rooting against him. And not because we dislike him, just because he wants the Leafs to not look like they missed out on the next Vezina winner.
He loves kittens, for God's sakes.
He does love kittens.
Give me the first shot going the net tonight, please.
Just threw his logo right under the arm.
I despise that dude.
That game on Saturday night, bud, when they got lit up, Kadri coming in, shooting at 5-hole.
I've never seen this side of Sammy before.
It's the best thing on this show is when Sammy gets to give us the thing that everyone's thinking and no one's saying.
Hey,
among the fan base.
I can't.
Well, he's just a Leaf hater. I mean, he's a Leaf lover who hates.
He's a hating
Leaf lover.
Leaf lover.
We've labeled you, Sammy.
Sorry, I'm just in a battle on the chat here.
What's going on? What are the people on you?
I just told some guy to go back to the bird bath. He was chirping me for no reason. So
pigeon.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a fast 2-hour show.
That was a good
Our
show.
thanks to Mike Fuda.
Yep.
Our thanks to Marty Turco.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath.
Hockey match tonight.
Watch Dallas versus the Leafs. One win could solve a lot of problems tonight.
Winning cures all.
JB, always a pleasure. Our thanks to Derek, Brandeo, Jen Ronek. Sammy, enjoy the game tonight, pal.
Oh, yeah, bud.
And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Back tomorrow.